What's going on, Owls fans? Welcome back to the Inside the Burrow podcast. I am your host, Kevin Fielder, joined alongside two new faces to the show. First of all, Mike Birdman. Mike, how you doing today?
I am awesome. Happy to be here.
And then a face that is familiar to FAU fans, not on this show, but of course, I'm sure everyone knows head football coach Tom Herman. Coach, how you doing?
Hey, guys. Go Owls. Birdman. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Coach.
I think there's probably no better place to start. You've been in Boca Raton probably for about 16 months at this point. How has Boca been to you? I'm sure there's been some learning curves, but how has, the sunshine of Boca
been awesome. My family loves living here. My wife absolutely loves living here. We bought a bit of a fixer-upper that is on a canal though, so we're doing the whole going to live on the water. Bought a jet ski and wave runner. Don't worry. So Yamaha short there, but no, it's been a blast. We're finally getting the house kind of livable, where there's not workers coming in and out every day, maybe every other day now. So it feels good. It feels like home, and the surrounding area is just. There's no better word than paradise, and I know it gets used a lot to describe our programs and athletic department, but I don't have a better one. It is absolutely something that, having lived in many places, moved my family 6 times in 11 years in one span, and so this is by far it takes the cake for sure as to where we've had to call home for sure in my journey and our journey.
I moved down to Boca about 20 years ago now with the idea that I was just coming down to go to college, and
stayed.
Yeah, I met my wife and stayed. And shout out to Katie, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Yep.
It's an awesome place to live. What don't you like about Boca? Is there anything? South Florida?
No, I love the the melting pot that South Florida is, the different cultures and ethnicities and languages and cuisine. I mean, you name it, you can get it here. I would say, it's hard to say a downside because the upsides are all so much better than the upsides of anywhere else I've lived. But, if Mother Nature could dial down June, July, and August down just a little bit, that would be nice. But other than that, it's hard to complain about June, July, and August when we're sitting here in January having donor dinners outside and the rest of the country is freezing to death. So I'll choose my 3 months over the 3 months in Iowa per se or anywhere like that.
I'm glad you said cuisine, because it is definitely a melting pot. And you and I both kind of live in the same neighborhood. We're in East Boca. You're a little bit more east than me, which is fine. But where's your favorite place to eat, man? I know the other day we were talking about what was it, Arturo's over there and Renzo's. And stuff. What's your spot?
I'm one of the few. Really, my whole family in the house. We're not big seafood people. I like shellfish, but I'm allergic to shrimp, so it's a long story. But so we like the Italian food. You said Arturo's, Renzo's. We can walk to from our house. Bella Amici in the Publix little shopping center there has great pizza, great fresh made cheesecake. So we fancied quite a few. If you want to go out with the wife, the meat market. I love a nice steak. That's been really, really good. But I've also got a 10-year-old and a 16-year-old, so there's a lot of Chick-fil-A and McDonald's.
Yeah, you can eat that wherever you are in the country. It's always
no doubt,
right? What about pizza? What's your pizza spot?
What's that?
What's your pizza spot? There's
probably Bella Amici's. Yeah, probably Bella Amici for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty. I've heard that one's pretty good. I haven't been to that one for pizza, but yeah, I've definitely heard that one. Brian White, our athletic director, is a big pizza guy too. You know what his spot is?
Where?
Domino's.
No
I'm
way.
I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that. Like he prefers.
Shout out to
Domino's?
him because he actually hacked it for me. He hacked the app for me, and he told because when I'm in a pinch, it's Domino's too, and he gets the deep dish well done with the pepperoni on it. And when you get it well done, it changes the whole thing. So shout
But
out
it's still
to Brian.
Domino's, right? Like, I mean, it's still Domino's. It's not
What
like
is
you're
well
getting
done? Like make it crispier or
It
something?
makes it
or-
crispier, yeah. It's the top burn.
Now-
He's probably gonna kill me for shouting him like that, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, Coach.
They can become an official sponsor, and then I'll eat the head.
We'll all eat Domino's then.
Yeah, exactly.
No, Coach. I do have to ask. I feel like it's a rite of passage down here. What's your pub sub order? What's the go-to if you're getting a pub sub?
I'm a club, guy. I like, roast beef, turkey, some bacon, and so nothing extravagant.
You're not a chicken tender tossed in buffalo sauce like half the community feels like it is. At this point.
No. If I'm gonna go get a sandwich, I'm gonna get a sandwich. If I'm gonna go get wings, I'm gonna go get wings.
Well, you got to remember, Tom comes from like Texas, right?
Yeah.
We're a lot of meat eating there, right? A
lot of meat eating. Yeah.
A lot of meat eating there.
A lot
all
of steak for
barbecue
sure.
and steak and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, brisket
Yeah,
for sure.
Brisket
Yeah.
for sure. So, I'm sure that's part of his repertoire of food.
Oh yeah.
But so we got some other questions for you here because I think it's important that Owl Nation gets to know Tom Herman a little bit better than Tom Herman, the football coach, because we all know that Tom Herman is one of the best football coaches in the country. You were a kid in the 80s. You're a little bit older than me, a few years, right? Growing up in the 80s. What was your go-to 80s movie? Because I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, and there's a lot of classics that just don't hit like they used to, right? In the 80s.
It's funny that you say that because we actually make our kids or have made our kids growing up watch all of those, and so I'll just kind of spout out some of the ones we've had them watch. Breakfast Club, all the John Hughes movies, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. They've watched those. I'm trying to think. Karate Kid, the original, is a really good one. And then we get into the silly ones. We've made them watch, License to Drive. We've watched Weekend at Bernie's. I think Mannequin. That was Weird Science. Weird Science was
Weird Science,
a fan favorite here at the house. So those are all really good ones for sure.
Yeah, I watched Gremlins not too long ago, and it was completely.
Gremlins is great.
Gremlins.
Hey, here's a lesser known one. Early Val Kilmer role was Real Genius. In fact,
that was that college movie. That was an awesome
great movie, right? Yeah,
that was crazy. Was that the one where the popcorn?
The popcorn at the professor's house at the end.
Yeah. Incredible.
I feel like I feel like I'm slightly out of place in this conversation, given that I was born in the 2000s. So, I have watched some of those movies, though. Let's be clear. I have not gone to the
parents
point that I have not watched.
like me.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. What about video games? You look like an NES Nintendo guy, right?
I was never, I was of the age of A, B, and up, down, left, right.
NES
So
Nintendo,
when the controllers got to be, I need all 5 fingers, and I gotta do this with like a joystick and all that, and I got 17 buttons on top. It was adios for video games for me. I couldn't compete, but I do remember having a heck of a time in college. We used to play Sega Genesis, NHL hockey. I think it was '93 with Jeremy Roenick, and the Blackhawks were really good. The Kings with Gretzky, they were really good. So, but once the controller got past start, select, A, B, and
I'm the same.
The pad to go up, down, left, right. That's when they lost me.
I still have my original Nintendo system in the box from back in the day.
With the gun, the duck hunting gun?
Still, with the gun, with the zapper. Yep. Still has the Walmart price tag, $99 on it. And once in a while, my brothers and we bust it out and we play Donkey Kong.
$99.
It's kind of like where
That's going to be worth something someday. I played Pitfall. I think I played Pitfall till it got to. I had my mom take like a Polaroid, and you could mail it in once you got to 900,999 because the game like stopped.
Game stopped. Yeah, it malfunctioned.
It couldn't flip.
That's it.
And so I think I had my mom take a picture and send it in. I got something free or something like that.
That's hilarious.
Now, Coach, I am a barbecue. I guess connoisseur is probably the best word, right? Like whenever I go to these places, particularly in the Midwest.
Well,
right,
I know that the camera adds some things, but you're not buying mediums at the store. I noticed that, Kevin.
No, I am not.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is a large debate as to what the perfect barbecue order is, because everyone's got an opinion on barbecue, it feels like. So I guess if you're going back to Texas, what is, I guess, the meats and the sides that you order? I don't know they do it in Texas so much. Is it the 2 meats and the 3 sides, or do they?
Yeah. They do all that. I'm a brisket and ribs guy. If I'm going to go, I'm not going to a barbecue joint to get chicken. I'm not going to a barbecue. But some pork. I like a good pulled pork sandwich. But I'm going to go to get brisket, and I'm going to go to get ribs. And then the sides for me, I'm not a slaw guy. I'm not a potato salad guy. So I'm really usually baked beans, and if they got good green beans, I go with some green beans too.
I feel like you could tell a good barbecue place based on the ribs and brisket right off the bat.
Yeah, that's all you need.
That's all you need. When we were in Houston's, I actually talked to Smitterbush when we were out there, and he sent us to Pinkerton's.
Oh, did you go?
Oh, yeah, we went to Pinkerton's.
One of the best in the whole state.
God, that place slaps. Is that the term, Kevin? Slaps?
Yeah. I think that's what
it was lit. It was lit. Was it lit?
Yeah, that was honestly the best brisket I've had in my life, hands down. It was like a hole in the wall, like shack kind of thing. Like looked like it was gonna fall down, but man, that was the best barbecue I've had in my life, and I can't wait to go back to Pinkerton's and try something else there. We actually, funny story, we actually went with Ellie Baldwin.
Oh, there you go.
It was Ed's birthday, and
who paid?
I can't say, but
not you.
No. We were with. It was his birthday, so we took care of him. Katie did actually.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. But Pinkerton's was awesome, and if anybody could learn anything from barbecue, that's where they got to go to school.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah,
for sure, 100%.
Unfortunately, when we went, it was closed, so we didn't time that right. Yeah, we tried to go, and we were like, I think it was the day after the Final Four, and we were still in town. So we go, okay, let's just go get barbecue, right? Like you're going to have to go eventually. So we went and drove by, and they go, oh, it's closed. And I was incredibly disappointed because I had heard
that's definitely disappointing. But the good thing about Houston is, and barbecue, you could probably just go down the street, and there's probably places almost as good, right? But the baked beans I remember the baked beans specifically being like out of control good. And it's amazing how barbecue places how they do the beans, right? It all starts with like a can of beans, right? And
just simmer it.
On the first day they
sugar in it. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Coach, Austin, Texas is not quite Boca, but what's one thing you miss about Austin that I guess, like, if you could transport it to Boca, on like a ship or something, what would that one thing be that you wish Boca had that Texas has?
But that's a bit of a loaded question because my daughter just finished her sophomore year at the University of Texas. So my answer would be to bring my daughter to me from Austin to here. She was visiting for Mother's Day weekend, and it was great to see her. But I understand your question. It's not for me to gush about my daughter. What would one thing that does the money at University of Texas athletics count? I don't think that's a fair. That's not what you were looking for. That's not what you were looking for either.
We can count it though if you want.
We enjoyed. Probably the live music scene would be my answer. Boca is a much different town, but I know my kids all kind of almost grew up, on a Saturday, go downtown and kind of spend the day listening to good music, stuff like that. So that's one thing that would be nice to have.
I think it'd be cool to take, like you said, the live music, take 6th Street completely, uproot the whole thing, like take a knife and just cut underneath it and put it on a ship and bring it and replace it with 20th Street.
There you go. Yeah.
Right.
That'd be great. We've been looking for a college hub. Yeah, just do that.
That would be amazing. Like, yeah. I know, and Boca, trust me, Boca 20 years ago when I got here is completely different now than it was back then. It is. There's like 100 times more people living here. There are condos going up everywhere. There's more bars and tons more restaurants. There's a lot of Boca is like going through like this. I don't want to say gentrification, but it's like going through like this, almost like a revival, right? Like it's turning really turning into.
I mean, all you got to do is look. They're adding a high school, or they added a high school recently, and I think there's plans to add another one too. So I mean, it's definitely growing.
It's incredible. I'm excited to see like what happens in the next like 15, 20 years
sure.
With not only the university and everything, but just the whole Boca area in general. Like, is it going to be like a smaller Fort Lauderdale? Like
it doesn't get that big.
I don't know. Maybe the downtown Las Olas area, the way Meisner's building up, and they're building up those like back streets back behind there. It's really incredible. It's like nonstop building.
Yeah,
like, it's hard to believe that there's like a person to go in every one of those condos. It's
somebody's going to buy it, right?
When you go down to Fort Lauderdale and you look at the marina with all the yachts, there's a person that owns every one of those yachts. Yeah. It's out of control if you think about really the money and everything that's out there. It's wild.
It was weird because I was driving down probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I drive where was it, like Military Yamato area. I'm just driving by and I go, oh wow, that's a new apartment building that was built in the last
one on the corner there
and a half. Yeah, and I go, oh cool. So they just built that randomly. And
wild.
I do not live in Boca, right? I live probably about 30-45 minutes north, so I'm not quite in that area. But I frequented that area, so you drive by and it feels like every day there's a new apartment complex being built. And as you mentioned, like, who the heck is living there? Because I struggle to believe there are that many people who are moving to Boca, but I guess there are that many people moving to Boca.
And the real estate market's out of control right now. It's like.
Yeah, we had to buy a home last summer, brother. Oh
yeah. You know.
Yeah.
Yep.
You are not the first coach to complain about that either. Let's be clear.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you won't be the last either.
Coach, let's get into the football stuff, I guess, right?
Yeah, I guess we do have to I about football.
Yeah. Is that why I'm on here? I didn't know. I thought it was just to crack jokes at you guys. Yeah.
Well, I guess the question, my question that I had for you was, who is your favorite coach in football history? If you had to think of a coach that you modeled yourself after, or somebody that really inspired you to become a football coach, who is that person?
Well, two high school coaches. I'm the only child of a single mom. My real dad died in what could be called a homeless shelter when he was 52 years old. And so coaches kind of raised me. So I had two coaches in high school, my head coach, Stan Quina, and my receivers coach, Breck Snyder. Both those men, a very important time in my life, had a even bigger impact on me than they probably even know to this day. And then as far as my career, Greg Davis, my longtime offense coordinator at the University of Texas, then University of Iowa, was certainly a mentor of mine and someone that I lean on to this day. He's retired, living in Dallas, living his best life, but I still call today, and I call him Coach, and he calls me Young Tom, and which kind of makes a 49-year-old dude feel good, and then just from afar, a little, Bill Belichick came and spoke at our high school clinic, and I had him come in a few hours ahead of time and just kind of open forum with my coaching staff. And it was good to see him obviously learn from him and pick his brain, but to see him kind of with the shield down a little bit and behind the curtain, really good dude. And, we talk a couple times a year, and I've leaned on him for some stuff too. So those have been some impactful guys for sure.
Best coach of all time. Who is it?
College or pro?
Do both.
Well, college, it's Nick Saban, and pro, it's Bill Belichick.
Good.
And I don't think anybody can argue with that.
No, those
I
are,
can't.
You can?
No, I can't. Absolutely
Okay.
cannot.
How do you argue that? No, that's good.
I cannot sit here with a rightful conscience and debate that Nick Saban or Bill Belichick are not the greatest coaches of their respective fields. I feel like I would be doing a disservice to the industry if I sat here.
And you want to make sure you don't have recency bias, right? And you want to make sure that you're being as objective as possible when asked that question. It's a very obviously subjective question. But it's hard to argue with national championships at two different schools and however many total, and then however many total world championships Coach Belichick has. I think hardware says a lot in our business,
Now, Coach, how blindsided were you when Saban decided to retire? Because I feel like everyone else was like, "Oh my, this is happening," and I don't know. Really, everyone saw it coming.
If I wasn't surprised. I mean, I didn't know it was coming, certainly, but when I heard the news, it didn't take me back, aback by any stretch. I think, a lot of people. I think he's like 67, 68 years old. I mean, he's almost 70, and I know this: if I'm still on the sideline at 68 years old, you guys call Mulder and Scully at the X-Files, and you let them know that aliens have landed and they have taken over Tom Herman's body, because I think Coach Saban's, I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but, at this point in his life and career, doesn't want to deal with all the crap that we got to deal with nowadays. That was different than even 5 years ago. And so I think, the state of college football and his age and, years on the job kind of converged at this time.
You mentioned the different calendar, and I think it's so unique the way that it works nowadays, where it feels like you're always recruiting, whether you're recruiting your own team or recruiting through the portal or through high school. I guess you sort of jumped in at FAU sort of as that was beginning to heat up a little bit more. So sort of what was the biggest thing that you learned about, I guess, the new calendar and the new process of recruiting your own team, recruiting the portal? I mean, everything that goes into being a coach nowadays compared to, as you mentioned, 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think I learned, one, you can sit and complain about it and get left behind and get fired and complain all the way to the unemployment line, because the train's not stopping for guys that complain, and we need to adapt. But I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth for a second, because I also feel like, there's only 132 of these jobs in the world, on the planet, 132 Division I FBS head coaching jobs. And we had 5 guys that were sitting, acting Division I head football coaches quit that job and just say, I've had enough. I want to go do something else in football. And I know that shouldn't scare anybody. Millionaires make really bad victims. I get all of that. But it's not about them or about us. It's about the sport and where it's headed, that it's so untenable that guys making hundreds and hundreds, if not millions of dollars, or just say, you know what, F it. I'm done. Let me go coordinate somewhere or coach a position and not have to deal with playing golf and trying to raise money for NIL and all that stuff. So my 2 years off was probably the 2 years that saw some of the most change in college football. So getting back in was definitely a different landscape. But I think, if you want to recruit your players, win. You know, that's what we got to do. Players are willing to put up with a lot if they're winning trophies and rings and having really fun Saturday nights. They're willing to put up with, you know, $50,000 less of NIL money or this, that, or the other. If you can show you're going to develop them on and off the field, that they're going to win, and that they're going to have a great experience doing it. And so, you know, we trust our plan, our way of doing it. And I think the guys that are here, the greatest thing, the only maybe good thing about the transfer portal that really doesn't get talked about is they also, when they gave the players the freedom of the transfer portal, they also kind of lessened the restrictions on us head coaches in terms of roster management too, and our ability to shave a guy off the roster if need be. And so, you know, that comes with the territory that the players wanted more to be treated, you know, less like contract laborers and more like, you know, a free enterprise. Well, in a free enterprise, you can get fired for any reason too. And so that has allowed us, I know in year one, it was tough. You know, this first time I hadn't gone to a bowl game, and I can't remember first time not having a winning season as a head coach. But I through a lot of soul searching too over Christmas break, especially, you know, I realized when having done this now 3 times, when we took over at Houston, that was an 8-win team, had just come off the largest comeback in bowl history to win a game in the bowl game. And so they weren't far away, and we put some finishing touches on it and, you know, went 13-1 and in the first year beat Florida State in the Peach Bowl, you know, like 14 or 17, held Dalvin Cook to like 29 yards on 31 carries or something ridiculous. I mean, it was a hell of a night. We had a great team. But it was in the process of being built by the previous staff. And you fast forward to taking over at Texas, you know, they've been playing football there 120 years. And we took over for a 3-year stretch that saw the only 3 straight years of losing in that 120-year history. And so there was a lot of crud, if you will, in the locker room. And we squeaked by with 6 wins in that first year. And year 2 was really, you know, kind of when things started turning well. You know, we won 10 games. We beat Oklahoma. We beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, you know, ranked 5th in the country. And so I had to remind myself that when you take over a program that everyone in that locker room, save for a transfer, they've never gone to a bowl game wearing an FAU uniform. They don't know what it takes. They've been, you know, really bad habits are continually reinforced. And so you've got to clean that out. And so I go back to my original point about the transfer portal. We had our team meeting in January, and I looked at them and I said, guys, this is awesome, because every single one of you that's sitting here could have chosen to go somewhere else this Christmas break. But yet you chose here. After having all you veterans having been around us for a year now, you chose us over all other 131 schools. And guess what? We chose you, because there's guys that aren't sitting next to you that, not by their choice, but by ours, are no longer part of this program too. And so there's no more, well, I didn't sign up to play for this coach. And there's no more, well, I didn't recruit this kid. Like, we're in this together from this point forward. And that was a really good feeling. And it's been phenomenal offseason in terms of just I mean, my phone hasn't rang. Maybe 10% of what it did this time last year, just from issues and just issues that head coaches have to deal with. And so it's been a nice year 2 off season for sure.
I think it's really interesting, the whole dynamic with the transfer portal, and I mean, it's football and it's basketball and it's every sport, right? And it's funny watching how the average fan, or like an FAU fan or any fan of any university, really is like reacting to players leaving and wanting to be at a different school. And I'm just like, wow, man, like I'm a very loyal person with sports teams, like and friends and everything else. I'm a loyal person. And, if you're my friend, that's it. We ride or die. If you're my team, that's it. One team. I'm not out there like rooting for Ole Miss because Lane Kiffin left, or whatever.
Right.
It's FAU, and people who know me know it's like Mike's an FAU fan. Obviously, like look at my office.
Yeah, I'd say you're pretty fanned out there.
I'm fanned out.
I like that autograph helmet, by the way.
Which one?
Oh, are they all from me?
Yeah. Except for this one's got Chris Carter on it somewhere. This one here. I got a Howard.
You stole it from some kid named Carter.
No, I got a Schnelly one up there, and some other cool stuff. But it's funny, like when you talk to fans about the transfer portal, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this player is leaving. This player is going in the transfer portal, and he's going to go to wherever." It doesn't matter, but if they don't want to be here, how do you expect them to want to play to win and really be invested completely in the program, right? Like if they're thinking about leaving for money or for whatever reason, let them go. There's another person.
I think you never want a malcontent on your team, for sure.
Right, exactly.
I've told people since the day I got into coaching, fans want you to sign every recruit that you recruit, right? They never want you to lose one. And I've heard this phrase, I can't tell you how many times. Well, I can't believe you couldn't convince Johnny to go to our school. And I'm like, my job is not to convince anybody of anything. My job is to inform them, tell them what we're about, show them that, develop a relationship with them. And then I tell guys, when I'm recruiting a kid out of high school, like, other than the woman you're going to marry, this is the most important decision you'll ever make as a man. And you're going to need a lot of input because your frontal cortex isn't even fully formed yet, right? So God, unfortunately, you've been the way society works is you get put in this situation where you've got to make this humongous decision, and yet you're not even equipped emotionally or intellectually to even make that kind of decision. And so, but whatever that decision is made, much like a kid leap, like, I wish you nothing but the best, man. Because even like you said, when the thought comes in there, it permeates, and that's the scary thing, because it used to be when the portal, at least for a couple of years, and I remember Luke Fickle at Wisconsin, him and I talking about this, like he said, excuse me, and I agreed with him, like the hardest workers on our team were the guys that have already transferred. You know why? Because they couldn't go anywhere without sitting out a second time. Well, and that made sense. Well, now you've got every kid looking over their shoulder and listening to every chirp because there's dollars attached to it, and it's hard to stop. And you hope you create an experience enjoyable enough that you can overcome those things.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kevin.
Let's shift over to, I guess, high school recruiting now, because the transfer portal obviously has an impact on how teams approach high school recruiting. And, I guess your staff and you are fortunate to be coaching in such an area where I feel like you drive 2 minutes away from campus and you've got 3 high schools producing D1 talent. So, how do you guys sort of balance high school recruiting with the portal and, finding the guys in Palm Beach County, Dade, and Broward who are, FAU talents, and recruiting them to come here as opposed to, I guess, leaving the state, because, we've seen a lot of those guys leave the state as well.
Well, it was a big reason I took this job was its location. The administration was great, and we've got a championship team there, but and not the location because we're 1.8 miles from the beach. Location because we're smack dab in the middle of one of the hottest beds there is in terms of high school recruiting. And so when you're that close to home, when now hopefully we signed Ed Oliver at Houston, a 5-star, still the only 5-star to sign at a group of 5 school. And he was proof. You can stay home And 3 years later, Ed was the 9th pick in the draft. If Ed had gone to Alabama, he wasn't going to get drafted any higher than that, And so we wanted to make a big time emphasis in signing high school players. I think we signed the second most high school players of any team in our conference. This conference has gone huge in the transfer portal. But quite honestly, as we're kind of getting our collective off the ground and running too, and our financial support of this endeavor, freshmen are cheaper. And now we know we're going to have to pay the good ones at some point, much like, we don't want to develop the leading receiver in the country and then lose him to another school like we did this past season. And so we know there's got to be compensation at some point, but we want those guys around. We want them, we want to develop them. And then we feel like I said, those relationships, when it does come time to have those talks, those relationships are cemented enough, and hopefully a couple years from now, we're to the point where our backing is such that it becomes a non-issue, for our great players to even want to leave, and that's kind of our plan. But in the meantime, we got to win in order to execute it, because it's a pretty long range plan. You're talking 4 or 5 years for some of these freshmen to get developed, because we did something pretty unique. I thought it was important that every high school committed to the previous staff that we went ahead and honored that. To me, you commit to a university, you don't commit to a staff. And so, this is really our first class. And we're going to have to fill holes here year in and year out with some transfers, and we get that. But once we get the ship kind of righted and steady and not always in flux, hopefully we can do that. I think you'll see more and more that high school number even grow.
I miss the days of like the best player in Texas goes to Texas, and and he stays there at the university for 4 or 5 years and graduates, then goes to the NFL. I miss those days, but those days seem to be behind us. We don't know if they're coming back, with the new rules and the NIL and the collectives and everything. Coach, if you have a message for the alumni and the fans and all the supporters of the program regarding the importance of the collective, what would it be?
Well, I think now more than ever, our fans and our supporters directly impact wins and losses. I mean, there's no better. I say all the time, you can resurrect Vince Lombardi, you can bring Saban and Belichick out of retirement and put them all in the same staff. And if they're coaching C-level players and they're playing A-level players, there's not a whole lot they can do. And so the name of the game is about player retention and player acquisition. And in today's day and age, you've got to have money to be able to operate that way. And millions and millions of dollars, to be quite frank with you. And it's the way of the world of college football. And so we need our fans, like you asked. I think the answer is twofold. One, the future is really bright. We've got a great thing going. We've got a great collective set up. We're spending good money this season going into the 24 season, but we're not spending the most in our conference. Probably middle of the pack. And so if we want to be elite, we want to compete for championships, we need to spend like elite championship teams do. And I think our fans thus far have heeded that call, and I think we'll continue to do that.
I believe you when you say the future is bright. I definitely feel it. We've had a lot of being an FAU fan the past 20 years has been tough sometimes. And I go back. I'm a Schnelly guy. I was really close to him. I wouldn't have graduated college if it wasn't for him. And I definitely wouldn't have married my wife if it wasn't for Howard. When he met her, he's like, marry that girl. I said, okay. And here we are.
No, you probably said yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Honestly, he scared the crap out of me.
Right.
But I love him so much. But the future is definitely bright. I feel like we had since Howard. We had some good years with Kiffin, but everybody knew that was going to be short lived because it was Lane Kiffin. and we were kind of like waiting it out for him to leave. But I feel like, you know, you have a plan for the future here at FAU. What are some of the things that we should be excited about for this season and you know, seasons coming up? What do you think?
Well, I think one, long term, this will go as far as our support and administration allow it to, you know, and it is really, really exciting because of that recruiting base, because of the new facilities that we have. We could use an indoor turf field. It rains a lot in South Florida, and lightning comes with that rain. But I think the future is bright because of that. And I think what to expect is, you know, I go back to compare us to last year's team this year coming up. And we were 1-5 in one-score games last season, or last year's team was. And that told me a couple things. One, last year's team had the talent requisite to be in one-score game, be in those games in the fourth quarter, but not enough to kind of be the tipping point that sets them over the edge. And at the end of the day, it's talent and culture, right? Those are the two big things. And we had a culture that kept us in games that probably we were out-talented, in Champaign, Illinois. You know, that's a 6-point game. I don't think they're going to want to schedule us anymore, but we're so close to winning that game. But either one of our talent and our culture was good, but not elite, right? And couldn't overcome a lot of that stuff. So in short answer, we've improved the talent and by developing the players that stuck around and by going out and getting new players. And we've improved the culture in the same way. We've recruited to our kind of guy, to steal a phrase from Coach Peterson at Washington. He calls them OKGs, our kind of guy. And I just think when you have that in combination, usually really good things happen. Guys, I got time for one more. I know this isn't live, so
Coach, I'll ask the last one, and we'll end it on a fun note. Okay. Back in Houston, you wore those diamond grills.
Yeah.
After I think the AAC conference championship win. Is that probably the right timeline? Sort of what's the story behind those? And
it's a great story.
Do you still have them?
Yeah. What's that?
Do you still have them, or are they?
Oh, absolutely. They're in my ring box. Yeah, we were supposed to do this interview in my office. I was going to show them to you, but I got caught up late at an NIL fundraising golf outing. So anyways, no, I get to Houston, take over the team, and they're going to introduce us, me as the head coach and the team as the bowl champion, whatever, at a basketball game. And I'm walking over there, and we got a little slot receiver, DeMarcus Ayers, and he was wearing a grill. And I said, DA, you got a grill on, man. I thought it was just a good way for me to get to know a player that's supposed to be pretty good, that as a new head coach, I should probably get to know. And he goes, yeah, coach, you know, especially down here in Houston, man, a lot of people got grills. And he chuckles, and he says, you should get a grill, coach. And I thought, okay, here's a connection moment. I said, you know what, DA? And this is in February now. I said, if we win the conference championship, I'll get a grill. He says, okay, coach, bet, right? And so fast forward to December. I thought nothing of it the entire year. You fast forward to December, and it's like Wednesday of practice week, getting ready to play Matt Rule and Temple for the conference championship game. And after practice, DA comes up to me and he goes, you know what this week is, coach, right? I said, yeah, it's championship week, dude. Chance to go to, New Year's Six game, the whole nine. He goes, no, it's grill week. And so he reminded me that day that if they won the game, I was going to get a grill. We obviously won, and I formed a grill committee to design it, and it's got it's tops and bottoms, diamonds on top with UH in ruby red and rubies on the two front teeth, and then TH in rubies on the two bottom teeth for Tom Herman. So
real stones.
Real diamond. Yeah, I think it's worth it. And Paul Wall and TV Johnny Dang, fit me for it. It's an original. I think it's worth a lot of money. It's not cheap.
I'm sure.
But Paul Wall, shout out. I know Paul's watching this podcast.
Yeah,
Paul
definitely.
and TV Johnny Dang, thank you. You guys hooked me up. It was a hell of a deal. And it's something that I'll cherish forever.
Paul Wall is a huge Kevin Fielder fan.
Oh yeah, we talk every day. Clearly,
he might not be awake at this point in the afternoon.
Coach, appreciate a bunch for hopping on, and I guess going a little longer than expected. As the only coach, I guess, in the American to own a grill, we can't confirm that, but I feel like that's a pretty safe assumption.
Pretty safe.
Coach,
the only coach. Maybe Dion might have one.
Yeah, Dion's probably got one.
Good point. Good point.
Prime probably has one. That's the only other guy I can think of. Right.
Good company.
Yeah. You're in good company. Yeah.
Coach, appreciate
childhood heroes.
Yeah.
Coach, appreciate a bunch for hopping on. I speak for everyone on the podcast for saying appreciate it, and of course, go Owls.
All right, guys. Thanks. Go Owls.
Coach.